Hey, how you going? So, today we wanted to talk about how to plan a meal so you're considerate of your kids, but you're not catering to their kind of picky eating
Yeah,
likes and dislikes.
yeah.
So you're kind of balancing that consideration without kind of restricting their diet. So, tricky but doable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think instead of planning meals just solely around your picky eaters' preferences, which is tempting to do. There's no
Totally.
two ways about it if you've got a picky
Anything for
eater,
peace.
100%.
Yeah.
But I think it's important just to aim for a balance of different options that accommodate everyone's tastes,
Yeah.
not just your picky eater. And it's not only going to benefit everyone in the family, but especially your picky eater, because this encourages some exploration and also will help to gradually expand their palate, which is super, super important and always the aim with a picky eater who has a restricted diet. And also, look, kids need to understand that sometimes they'll love what's for dinner. They'll really love it's their choice or something they really enjoy. But sometimes it might be mum and dad's favourites or a sibling's favourite meals, because we don't all have the same tastes and the same likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much to learn about life, isn't there, with just this one point?
Totally. And just as you're saying that, I'm thinking, one, it's important for kids to realize life doesn't always go our way.
Yeah.
And I think it's way easier to learn this as a kid
Yeah.
and to be okay with it as a kid. Kids are way more likely to develop friendships and to have better relationships if they're able to kind of do the give and take of, and to be curious about what other people like as well. But also I think of myself, like our tastes change, and if you don't try different things, and maybe it's dad's favorite, and then the more you have it, the more it becomes your favorite.
Totally.
But if you're not exposed to things, you're never going to know that.
No. How many foods did you hate as a kid that you love now?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
And same as my kids.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. There's so many foods my kids just wouldn't touch as young kids and now absolutely love now that they're older. And if I had have stopped putting those things on the table when they were little, they would never have learnt to like them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So how do you make sure you're covering all your bases?
Yeah, so, I mean, I do like to consider that there are, if I'm feeding a picky eater, that there are familiar elements or, some people call safe foods when you do have a picky eater at your table. So if I were to introduce a new dish, for example, something that they hadn't eaten before, I'd try and incorporate some kind of familiar elements. So, for instance, if a child loved a particular pasta like a spaghetti bolognese, trying to incorporate new sauces or new vegetables into their favourite pasta dishes would be my aim. Perhaps adding different vegetables to what I did last time, or perhaps using a different kind of protein in the pasta, in the bolognese, like, using chicken mince or pork mince, just to kind of take a little sidestep from what they already love. Definitely I'd recommend introducing new foods gradually and also in small portions. If you just all of a sudden lump something completely new on the platter or on the table, they're more likely to kind of balk at it, I think. And I definitely recommend pairing unfamiliar items with really familiar favourites to make them less intimidating. One thing we talk about in our Raising Well-Nourished Kids program is we talk about a concept called flavour stacking. And we give a lot of guidance around this because I think it's just such an important way to really expand a child's acceptance of a variety of flavours and foods.
Totally.
And, in a nutshell, without going into too much detail, but flavour stacking is basically where, like I said before, you take a food that they love, say we'll use pizza as an example this time, and you perhaps try a different kind of base next time, or you vary the toppings that they like. Have the familiar toppings, like say if they love ham and pineapple, put ham and pineapple on the pizza, But
would you add capsicum?
Totally. Add something new like capsicum, and that's flavour stacking, or perhaps add a different herb on there. You know, they can remove the capsicum. That's completely fine. Exactly. There's no pressure for them to eat it, but you are just introducing them to a new flavour or a new food or something new, without it being too confronting. Yes. And because it's paired with something that you know that they already really
and you're
enjoy.
Not making a big deal about.
Never.
You're just keeping on putting it in front of them.
Never.
But I love how you say, you know, where you kind of that flavour stacking, but also where you are. I think it's important that we remember we're trying to support our kids,
yes,
you know, and we're not trying to make life difficult for them, and we're not trying to, we're a family. And so we're doing things to kind of support them and to build their confidence with foods.
Yes.
Because believe it or not, with picky eating, part of it can be confidence, you know, like for them to be confident in that they'll be okay with the new food. And I think when we keep offering and inviting them to have it, we actually build their confidence, because they see we've got faith that you can do this when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love how just so many of your ideas I hadn't thought of before, because my brain doesn't work like your brain. But I love your idea of serving buffet style for kids that kind of might be picky.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you know, serving family meals or buffet style, like Jane said, allows everyone just to serve themselves from a variety of dishes. So for me, a buffet style meal will look like, often I'll deconstruct a meal. So it might be that we are having, say, tacos, for example, and I'll have literally either one big platter with lots of different things on it, or lots of different individual bowls. So it might have chicken in there and some lettuce in another bowl, cheese in another bowl, capsicum in another bowl, salsa in another bowl, and lots and lots of different things. We'll even do this actually with hamburgers. Sometimes I'll just have all of the things on the chopping board. I've done this actually for kids' parties with burgers.
Cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, where I've, you know, cooked up all of the burger patties, and they literally have the burger patty in the bun, and a lot of the kids just have the burger patty in the bun and the tomato sauce, and that's it. But I just feel like having everything out on a table or on the table for the family to pick, and you know, we often will talk about who has got the best flavour combination in their bowl. Like we make a Mexican bowl, you know, I'll look at the kids' bowl and say, I never thought to put that with that. Or, you know, like how good is the, you know, is the my kids, how I've even added jalapenos, because, you know, my husband and I like jalapenos. So we even have those on there. And I'd say to my husband, how good's the jalapenos in the chicken bowl? And leave it at that. And then all of a sudden my son loves jalapenos now, because he didn't want to miss out on this great flavour combination. And
well, you've stimulated his curiosity, and you've given him choice.
Absolutely.
Which is empowering.
And if we'd never had jalapenos on offer, he to this day wouldn't know that he liked jalapenos.
That's exactly it.
So, it makes me laugh, because even when he was little, we would go out for dinner or lunch or something, and, you know, he'd ask for a side of jalapenos, and no one could believe it. Even I couldn't believe it, to be honest, because,
But kids love, the opportunity to have choice, to kind of to step into new realms, and they love being involved.
Yes.
And I think that's where I love the platter, because they're involved in creating the meal they want to kind of create for themselves. And I feel like we've moved away from that. We don't involve our kids enough.
No.
And I really would love parents to involve their kids more, just in setting the table.
Setting the table is a great one. It doesn't have to be complicated, does it?
No.
It could even be, my kids just went through a stage of just loving folding napkins.
Yes.
Or even sometimes drawing on napkins and using them, calling them kind of decoration, you know, for the table. That was when they were little. Obviously now, God, I'm lucky if they'll throw the knife and fork on the table is at best. But another way to involve them, I think, is in meal planning. I think it's important, like you said, to give kids choice, and to involve them actually in the planning process. gives them choice without complete control.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, Monday night you get to pick what we're having, and, you know, Tuesday night your brother gets to pick what we're having, and then it's mum's turn and dad's turn. That can be something that's really great. You know, asking for their input on menu choices, involving them even in the grocery shopping and, like you said, in the meal preparation. And, you know, we, again, just to reinstate, I know so many parents, when they hear us recommend for kids to get involved with cooking, they think it's a start to finish process. And it's not. It literally can be a matter of, can you put some salt in that sauce?
Yes.
Can you stir that quickly for me?
Some involvement.
Some involvement.
You know what? This for me recently was life-changing. I have a nephew that's really pretty picky.
Yep.
And I was making moussaka.
Yep.
And he helped cut the potatoes up.
Yep.
You know how you have the potatoes?
Yes.
And he ate the whole moussaka.
Yeah.
And his older sister and his mum were like,
what?
Because it had all these veggies in it. It had all this stuff that he knew what was in it, because he was helping me grate the carrots. He was helping me grate the zucchini. He saw me with the garlic and the onion, and it was massive. And now they have the recipe, and they just asked me for it the other day because they were starting to make it.
How
so
good's that?
It's huge. He's 10.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. No, that's absolutely awesome. And I see that. I hear and see that all of the time. My little niece is only, 3, and she's just starting to push back and go through a bit of a picky eating phase, which is completely normal. But her mum is already, we've had lots of discussions, and she also is in our Raising Well-Nourished Kids program as well. So she's got lots and lots of tips and lots of support to get through this picky eating phase. But she's noticed definitely Zadie is more likely to eat what is in front of her if she's actually been involved in the kitchen. And like I said, it might just be her mum gets her to put the spoon in the bowl. It really isn't like a 3-year-old. You can't be cooking from start to finish. It's very few 3-year-olds. I mean, there would be some, I'm sure, but there's very few that are going to, and also busy mums. Like, I know I often at dinner time just didn't have the time to be involving my kids in a start to finish kind of way.
And if you're already overwhelmed.
Totally.
You know what though? Like, I think kids really love being included.
Yep.
And if we're not teaching them the skills, they don't learn it.
Yes.
So it's kind of picking your moments, knowing it doesn't need to be every night.
Yep.
But that including them in all the various, like from buying the food to planning the meal to setting the table to cooking the meal.
Yep. And even considering substitutions if you're cooking a recipe, the recipe might call for particular vegetables. Maybe it calls for broccoli, but your child prefers beans. What I would actually encourage parents to do is, rather than changing the recipe so it's just got beans in it because that's what they're going to eat, if you could go kind of half and put a bit of broccoli in it as well, because again, that exposure is super, super important. And it's important not just to solely cater to their needs, but you're definitely considering them when you're putting
meeting
that
them
meal.
Totally.
Hey? Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what we need to learn for relationships.
That you
meet halfway.
And they just get to choose and eat their preference, which, like you said, that choice and that involvement is, is just so important. And whilst it is really important to encourage kids to try new food and to expose them to new foods, we do also have to respect that there's certain foods that, we all don't like. There's nothing that will convince me to eat cucumber or watermelon, nothing that will convince me. But it's just when it gets... When there's more foods that they dislike than like, that that
when
is
they're only eating white food.
Totally. It becomes problematic. Or if there's only 2 vegetables that they'll eat, or one source of protein, or they're just very restricted. We'll talk a lot in the podcast about the importance of variety for nutritional kind of to ensure our nutritional needs are met. So that's the main reason why we're kind of encouraging picky eaters to try new things, is just to extend on that variety,
and just to a little bit at a time.
Yes,
I think that's really
small
important
steps
to remember.
Yeah.
Like parenting's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yes.
And that if your child can just expand their palate that little bit at a time, if they've got a reduced palate.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to avoid pressuring them.
Always.
Avoid that at all costs.
Yes.
Avoid bringing any emotion or negative associations with mealtime.
100%.
I think you actually create more issues. I think
100%.
it's more just kind of modeling how you want them to eat, exposing them like you do with the the
platters.
Yeah. Pointing out what they're doing well at, notice what's working, because it can be easy as a parent to focus on what's not working.
Totally. Yeah, and what they're not eating as opposed to what they are eating.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just, what's the word, like kind of inadvertently putting pressure on them because of your own anxiety. So it's training yourself to notice how they are doing okay and to have perspective again. Like over a lifetime, slowly you can build their confidence and their capacity for more foods in their diet.
Yeah, because if you head into mealtime being desperate, we all know the more desperate we are for our kids to do something, the less likely they are to do it. Yeah. So, it's,
I agree.
Yeah, encouragement without neediness or desperation.
Definitely. Like offering
is the key.
Invitations.
Yes.
Like inviting them to try the jalapenos.
Yes.
And just dropping it when they're like, nah.
Yep.
But just always, there's jalapenos again next week and the week after.
Yep.
And so, it's no big deal either way. Because reacting strongly can reinforce picky eating behavior.
Yeah.
And can actually just create so many problems in the relationship between you and your child, and their trust in you and their confidence in themselves.
It just doesn't feel good, does it?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I don't think we mentioned enough, like the power of modelling.
Yes.
Like us just enjoying a wide variety of foods.
Like I said before, with my husband and I enjoying the jalapenos.
Yes, exactly.
We just modelled that behaviour to our son.
Yeah. And modelling adventurous eating.
Yeah, absolutely. But having said that, we modelled that behaviour, and my daughter doesn't like jalapenos.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's not we modelled it without any expectation that either of our kids would start to enjoy eating jalapenos.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
It is.
Being realistic in your expectations.
Yes.
Knowing that every kid's an individual, that they're going to have different likes and dislikes to you.
Yeah.
And it's more like you said before, you want just when things get too restrictive.
Yes.
And even if that happens, just doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So
slow
steps. Builds. Over time.
Yeah. So, like Jane was saying, setting realistic expectations, understanding that this does take time.
Yes.
We do need to be patient. Yeah. We need to be persistent in offering new foods, but not expecting immediate success, like doing nothing with an expectation.
It's over time.
It is. I honestly offered my son leafy greens for years before he ever actually ate leafy greens, let alone enjoyed eating leafy greens. Yeah. So, but again, like if I wasn't tenacious and if I wasn't persistent, he still wouldn't be eating leafy greens.
Yeah.
So, you really do need to just be persistent, never give up, celebrate small victories. Like Jane was saying before, there is that temptation to focus on the things that they're not doing well. It's just kind of, I think that's human nature, really.
Totally.
But you will eventually see success. I think if you do just take those small steps and just keep going. Yeah. And it's something that, we try and support parents to do in our program, is just to make these small incremental changes, because picky eating behaviours are so multifaceted and there's so many areas. It's not just what we're covering here. There's so many different things that you can work on that can improve picky eating behaviours. And, that's why we condensed it to our kind of 10 core ingredients. Yeah. But in the program, we also have a lot of bonus units. We also do and the bonus units help to introduce those little kind of specific unique things that aren't perhaps core
It's kind of where
consideration,
we drill down on certain,
but we'll drill down on certain things
aspects.
and certain aspects and bring that to the bonus units. And then obviously we do our monthly Q&As, so that enables us to take that general information that we've shared with the participants in the program and allow them to ask questions so it's specific to them and their needs and their requirements. I think that's the real value in our program, isn't it?
I agree.
Having direct access to us to ask questions.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, because picky eating impacts more than their life around food,
Totally.
I think. So the more support you can get with it, the kind of better for their long-term, for their life, really.
Yeah, and that's why we say one of our mottos is raising well-nourished kids, like happy, healthy, well-nourished kids with and through food.
Yes.
Because even though we're talking a lot about picky eating, we feel there's so much more to what we do, and the benefits extend well beyond the dinner table. So that's it for today. Hopefully you've got some good tips that you can move forward with, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.